Welcome back to part 2 of our content number 7, Corbel detailing Tekla structures. Now we have our Corbel in place and some and stiffeners, but we only have it on this side. And we also have to do some chamfers there and mirror it on the other side. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to first of all to create a chamfer here. And prior to creating a chamfer, you can see if I copied this, you can see that protrusion on the other end. So you see this is a tapered column, so that this upper side is not the same as the bottom end here. So I'll find a way of trimming off the unwanted side of this particular plate. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to find the guiding points here. So I'll select on the plate first so that I get these handles here. So with the aid of those handles, I'm going to place my points. So I'll place my point on that handle there. Let me just place another one there. Place one there. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to select on that point, right click and come to copy, and I want to copy it from that spot and I'll bring it somewhere there. So what I'm going to do, once again, I'm going to edit, then I'm going to use line cut. So I'll select the point I want to cut, then I'll define the positions that I intend to start the cutting. So let me just mouse over that point and click on that spot. Then select the part that I don't want, and that part has been trimmed off. Now, what I want now, I'll select on this. Then what I'm going to do once again, I'm going just to click on that point or click on that handle. So once I've double clicked on that handle, I'll come to line of chamfer there and key in my chamfer dimensions. Let me just key in 30 and 30 there, 30 millimeter, and click OK. So that has been created, but it's super small. And I'll come back and do the same thing. I'll click on empty screen, select on that, then pick that corner there, and I'll have my chamfer in place, and I can just go ahead and just type 60 there and pick 60 there and click modify, and that we have in place. So the chamfer measurement might differ on this end because we took into account the part that we had trimmed off, so our chamfer it did not it did not adjust to the section that we had trimmed here. So we had to double that dimension. So here we just use 30 millimeter. So let me just click on that handle there, then come and pick the chamfer type and key in 30. And on the y-axis, on the wire, I'll click 30 right there and click modify. So if I come to view and come to navigate and pick on rotate with mouse, I'll pick my rotation point, and you can see they're almost similar, but our dimensions are different because this was way out of location. So I'll do the same chamfer here. So I'll come here and try do the same thing, and I'll just select on it, then pick on the handle there, and I'll pick the chamfer type, and I just on this one I'll just give it 20 millimeter and 20 millimeter and give it an OK, and we have a chamfer there. So I'll do the same thing here, just click on the handle right there, pick the chamfer type and pick on that, and key in 20 millimeter on the X and 20 millimeter on the Y, and I click OK. So I'll come here once again, and I can just go ahead and repeat the same thing, or I can just do what I can just mirror. But let me just do that for the sake of you understanding it much more. So let me pick the chamfer type and key in the chamfer length, and I'll key and click on that, and that we have the chamfer right there. So I'll pick on that once again, and I'll do exactly the same thing here. Pick the chamfer type and key in the measurement of the chamfer here, and give it 20 and click modify. So that have modified that one, and I'll pick my rotation point. You can see the chamfer is in place. So the next thing here is to mirror the other side. But prior to mirroring, I have to weld these components to the adjacent or the part connected to them. So let me just pick on the weld tool, and I want to weld this to this. And remember, you have to disable this switch. So I'll come and select on this, and I weld to that, and select this and weld to that, and select this and weld to that. So that has been welded, and I did not create some did not create some chamfers here, so I have to select on that and pick on that chamfer. Let me just double click on it first of all so that I get the tools available for chamfering. I'll pick the chamfer type and key in 30 there on the x-axis and key in 30 right there, and I have that in place. So I'll come here and do exactly the same thing and select the chamfer type and key in 30, and I'll key in 30 here and click modify. So the moment I've modified that, I can go ahead and create a weld. I'll be able to weld this to that, and weld this to that, and this to this. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to right away click on empty screen, right click and come to redraw. So once I redraw, I'll get rid of any point that tends to clog my view. So I haven't welded this to this, I have to weld that to that, I have to weld that to that, I have to weld that to that. I click and come to navigate and rotate that. So now I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I want to weld this one to this one, and I want to weld this one to that one, and I want to weld this to that. So that will be a full assembly. And if I come here and turn that round, so transportation to site, this will be welded together. This part will be full assembly and will be transported as it is to site. So let me right click, or left click and right click once again and redraw. So I'm going to mirror this on the other end. And to mirror that, we need the help of, we need to reorient or change the position of our XYZ plane. Now I'm going to select these components, these stiffeners. And prior to mirroring, I have to come to view, then come to work plane tool, and I want to place my work plane tool right on that spot. So once I've selected on that, I'll right click and come to special copy and pick on mirror. So I want to pick the midpoint of this because it's on the middle, and click on that, and I'll have click OK. And if we turn around on the other side, we'll be able to see these components has been copied on this far end. So it's the same thing. So what I'm going to do once again, I have to mirror that on the opposite column. So I'll show you how we can do that without using a simple mirror tool, because a simple mirror tool will be hard to do that particular job. So let me just select on that. And prior to that, we have to take back our XYZ plane or work plane tool to its or a default position, so we can just place it at the bottom end there. So right click and click interrupt to walk away from that command. So let me select on that component, select on this component, but I can just go further and enable that so that if I mouse over here, I'll be able to select everything. Select that. Now I'll come, rotate, pick on that, turn around, right click and walk out of that rotation command, then select the components you want to mirror on the other side of the column. So let me just pick my rotation point and left hold the button on the mouse, and I'll be able to rotate. I'll right click to come out of that command, but as in some way I have deselected the components that I had selected before. So what do I do? And because at these points now I don't need them, the points that are red here, and to get rid of them, just double click on the screen, empty screen, then come to display, then come to display here. So once you're in display, you come to points here and uncheck that, then click modify, apply, and give it an OK right there. So we'll get rid of the points. The reason why I'm doing so, I'm going to just use just a general selection tool and deselect the parts that I don't want to be included in that selection. So once I've done so, I want to mirror this using the center here. But if I just use the normal mirror tool, it will not work. So I'm going to just once I've done so, I'm going to use the center here as my rotation point and use copy rotate option. So prior to that, let me first of all define my points here. So I'll come to edit, then come to points here. So once I'm in points here, I'll pick at any position, then click on that. Once I've clicked on that, I'm going to select that point, right click and come to special copy and pick on linear. So once I'm in linear, I'm going to change everything to 0 except the axis I'm using. So I'm using the z-axis, so I'm going to key in the number or the measurements I'm going to offset it up with. In this case is 300, but I haven't prefixed it with any sign, and because it is a positive direction, so I'm going to click OK. So I right click and terminate that command, or walk out of that command, then come here once again, and I want to pick everything, just general select, then press Ctrl and deselect the parts, the section that you don't want to copy. So once I've done so, first of all, check if you've picked any necessary point or an unwanted point or unwanted component. So what I'm going to do, since I've selected on this, and I want to transfer the same here, because instead of going from step by step as we did on the other side, I just need to mirror that using a mirror rotate option. So I'm going to right click and come to special copy and pick on rotate. So under rotate, I'm going to pick line option. So I'll pick line, and my line will be here. So I'll define my first point and my last point. If I click my last point, you'll see the coordinates adjusting to that, to the details of that point. So once I've done so, I'll retain that angle at 180, because actually it will rotate at 180. It will rotate it at 180 and fix it here. So once I've done so, let me just bring it close so that you see how things get transferred easily. So once I've done so, I'm going to click copy. So if I click copy, it will be right on the spot. Right click here and click interrupt to walk away with that command and click OK. So I'll click on empty screen once again, then right click and come to redraw view, and everything will get refreshed, and boom, it will be okay. Now you can see there's some some connection has been deactivated because I reactivated the assembly symbol, the assembly switch. So that has kicked off our 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 welding, our weld connection here. So you can see that gap here, that gap there. You can see that gap there. So that should not worry. We want to reconnect it back, and I'll come and disable that and activate that. Then I'll come here and weld this to that, and weld that to that, and that's okay. We've done that welding. We've gotten what we want and weld that to that, and perfect. It's okay. And if I come to navigate rotate, I'll be able to rotate that, and our connection is perfect. And I'll click on empty screen, right click and come to redraw. So once I've done so, I'll come to navigate, click rotate, and I'll click on that and rotate it. It's as simple as that. Now, let's do this. I'll select everything here. So once I've selected everything, I'll give it some time, and I'll enable this switch first. Then right click and come to special copy and come to mirror. And what we have to take into account is the center to center distance from this point to that point. It was 6 meters. If you've been following keenly when we were creating the grid line, the center to center distance of between the columns was 6 meters. So the z-axis has to be 0, because we are going to work with the axis that falls along this direction, because this is the direction that we intend to distribute or populate this rafter and column along. So we have 14 of them. So on the y-axis, because the y-axis is on this axis, but is pointing towards the opposite direction. So we have to key in prefix that dimension with the negative sign, because we are moving actually on the opposite direction of that particular axis. So let me just key in 6 meters there, and 6 meters, and I'll key in also the number of columns and the number of the whole thing. Then I'll just key in 14 there. We need 14 of them, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14, because we already have one in place. So that's why I've keyed in 14. So let me just go ahead or zoom close so that you see what's happening, and go ahead and click copy. So then once you click copy, you'll be able to see everything will be copied on the spot. So let's just give some time to do the same thing. Perfect, and everything has been copied. And if you've noticed something, there is some collision here. being a reason being that we did our selection prior to disabling this. So let's just enable and do that. I do it afresh will when this switch is on. So let me just zoom out, right click, and terminate that copy command. And while this switch is on, then let's do our selection. So once we've done our selection, I'll come back and right click and come to special copy and actually do the same thing. Let me click copy linear. So this is intact. I'll just go ahead and click copy in the same direction. So we give it some time to process that information, and everything will be copied exactly without any error. There we are, and everything has been copied. And if I zoom close, you'll notice that there is no that error that was uh, enabling the flange or the web protruding up or creating collision with the flanges. Now this is how it looks, and I'll come here and click on OK, then right click and come to redraw. And if I refresh everything like that, I'll come to navigate and try rotate this like this. So let me just pick a rotation point. If I rotate it like this, you'll be able to see I have already created everything, and this is already in place. You can see the Corbel is in place. So the next thing is remaining just to create the crane beam that we'll have to create on a different topic. So let's meet then on a different topic, and I hope you'll try this by yourself, and we'll be glad if you can do this by yourself. So if you have an issue, let me know on the comments there, and I'll be able to assist. So try this by yourself, and let's meet then on the next topic where we'll be discussing on how we can create a crane runway beam and in Tekla structures as we go on with this project-based course in Udemy. Let's meet then. Bye bye.